such an asshole.
How you kids doing? AssholeConsulting.com, where I, the world's only professional asshole, America's older brother, will yell at you if you pay me money. Hi, Aaron. I would like for you to make a video on your essential hiking gear and other hacks and tips that makes your hikes better. Please send me the price. Are there any gear differences based on the length or difficulty of the hike? Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean it like more than you'd realize, I guess. Could you discuss any downsides to specific gear you use? Since you hike quite a bit, I would find your insight valuable, and I think others would too. The gun part I have covered. I looked through your previous videos, and while you discuss hiking, I did not find any specifics on gears. Apologies if I missed anything. On a side note, I'll be spending all summer starting in June in northern Utah. I realize you likely mostly hike southern Utah, but I thought I would check it if you have any recommendations for hikes up north. Dinosaur National Monument. Go do some hiking out there. Not a lot of hikes because it's where the Yampa and the Green Rivers meet. But if you're in northern Utah, that's what I would do, assuming you are not going to go to the south. Let me know if you're in northern Utah and have time to meet up for a cigar. Thanks, Ryan. So, all right. Let me go through kind of just some quick notes. I'll be perfectly honest. I am not Mr. Safety. I'm not Mr. Stupid either, but I am not Mr. Safety necessarily when it comes to hiking. And what regular, serious hikers, I'm an avid hiker. I don't know if I would consider myself a serious hiker because I don't do multi-day hikes. I hate camping. I'm weak. I want a nice warm shower after the day. I'll go for a long hike. I'll wake up at 4 and go do it, but I'm back in my bed that night with the shower. Just because I've done camping and hiking before, and you're just weak and it's miserable and you don't feel good. So people who will, hike the Appalachian Trail, or they're pushing mountain climbing, where they're scaling and you need equipment and gear. I'm not at that level. But they would be like, oh yeah, you need poles and you need rugged boots so you don't roll your ankle and everything like that. So what I did is I got gear, safety, and then preparation. And I'll go through all those things that I have done or that you should do that I don't. Do what I say, not as I do, kind of hypocrite kind of thing. And then I'll talk about your specific situation here. So first, gear. Honestly, I just use running shoes, New Balance running shoes. Why? Because I'm small. I don't weigh that much. If I roll my ankle, I immediately know how to, I've rolled it, but I've never sprained it, never been injured. I won't lie. I got great balance because of ballroom dancing. I can run down a trail full of rocks, no problem. So if you are doing established trails that got a lot of traffic on them, which means they're flat and there's not a lot of gravel or rolling boulders or rolling rocks, I think you could get away with running shoes. Some would say, hey, rookie beginner, you need to get hiking boots where there's more of an ankle to the boot. And especially if you're going long distances, you want to roll in. And I would say if you're going multi-day hiking, I would probably get a pair of hiking boots so there's less chance that they're spraining your ankle. But me personally, no, I'm more on a borderline trail runner side, because if you talk to the Great One or other people who don't like fun, they'll say that I'm always up a rush to get up the hill. I'm like, well, I don't know what you're doing. Do you want to sit and look at the rock? Do you want to look at the painting, a picture? Do you want to look at the bees or the flowers? I'm like, let's get up top this thing. So for me, New Balance running shoes, especially on established trails, probably not for the beginning. You might want to get some hiking boots. And then if you're really good on your feet, fine. Gear. Also, because I want to get up and down, I'm kind of like a camel. I don't really carry any gear except for a cell phone and maybe a physical map in the day, like a topographical map, but that is increasingly becoming rare because once you get on top of a mountain or a hill, you usually have reception and know exactly where you are. Now, some of the more remote areas of Nevada or Wyoming, you might not have reception. So that's what I bring as a cell phone, but I don't even bring water. Usually because my hikes are, I don't know, on average, they're about 6 to 7 miles, and I'll get back. Now, if I'm going to go up a mountain, 2,000 feet, 12 miles round trip. Then I'll start bringing some water. Like Bridger Mountain is 14 miles round trip, and I think it's 3,500 feet. Yeah, I bring water on that. If you were to be gone multiple days, obviously bring food. But me, I don't like weight. I don't like being weighted down. So that's my style of hiking: in and out, get back, video games at 7. But if you're more of the slow kind, and or you just haven't trained up, and bring your water. You could get a camel pack. That'd probably be the easiest. It's just the bladder that you suck out of the water, and that if you want to be light. If you want to be a little bit more serious, especially a beginning hiker, bring a backpack, something with a stomach belt around it too, so it's not sloshing around in the back. And get yourself some water. Bring a little bit of food, a little first aid kit. That's what I would do. Now, then there's the pole people. Let me tell you about the pole people. The pole people are old. The pole people are not wrong. And the pole people in years might actually be young, but it's like old timers saying you need a revolver because it'll never jam on you. I'm like, I guess, Grandpa, yeah. The poles to me, more gear, more stuff I got to dick around with. If I was going up a very craggedy trail, lots of boulders, lots of rock, lots of gravel, lots of scree, all right, not a good padded down trail, then I might bring some poles. But what they are is they're like ski poles essentially, but they're for hiking. They're lighter. I don't think they have a little circle down below. And again, if you haven't hiked a lot, and you're going up trails or going up some hills or going down some steep inclines, get the poles, man. See how it is. Maybe you like the poles. People swear by them. Oh, I love the poles. I'm like, okay, boomer. Kids half my age. But in more on it, it's more safety. You prevent yourself from falling. So I'm in one hand, I do kind of like make fun of it, but in the other hand, I could totally see it, especially if you don't have balance. So there's that there. Related to gear, although it's not physical gear, you might want to download All Trails app and Avenza. Those are 2 apps I would get so you don't get lost. And then I would still bring, especially if there's no cell phone reception, you don't know there's no cell phone reception, go get yourself a topographical map. You should go to the Bureau of Land Management or, Forest Service, depending on if you get the physical map. Now, they just download Avenza is what they'll say because they're boomers. But have a map so if you run out of cell phone power, you don't have the juice, you got a physical map, a topographical map. You could figure out where you are. So that's kind of the gear I'd have there. And if you really wanted to do it, go get a satellite phone. Then you'll be, you could reach out. You could go like get a radio. Like, hey, I'm lost in the desert. Someone help me. So there's that. Safety. Kind of covered that a little bit in the gear. And prepping for the hike, taking a look at a map, knowing where you're going. But tell people you're going hiking. Depending on the trail you go on, sometimes there's usually a little, they put a book underneath there'll be a stand there at the beginning of the trailhead, and you open up and there's a book. You write your name and your time down. So if you don't come back on Monday morning and your boss like, hey, where'd Bob go? I don't know. And then they know to send the doghounds to find the corpse later. So there's that. If you're going to do it at night, or you're going to be, you're going to go a long distance, bring a headlamp. I'd bring some battery backups, even if you're, if you're going long distances. What else? Yeah, the safety gear. You could have your poles and the right type of shoes, first aid kit and all that. And then also I would work up to it. Don't be tackling no 10-mile hike in the desert. Work up to it first. Go where there's a lot of people. I got a buddy who lives in the middle of nowhere, Nevada, and he goes even further north and further in the middle of nowhere. Now, he's an experienced hiker. I'm sure he doesn't do half this stuff. Most of us, we just don't do it. We're young. We're never going to die. But if you're beginning, go with a buddy. Go with some friends. Duct tape, I forgot about that. Bring some duct tape part of your gear. You can make a nice stint in case you break your leg. And don't get too aggressive. Like if you see a cliff, you want to climb it. Do you have climbing gear? Have you ever climbed a cliff before? Don't climb a cliff. So that's what I do there. And then also preparation. I guess this is all around safety anyway. What's the temperature? What's the weather? What's the wind? Is there snow up on top of the mountains? Is there snow in the canyons and the valleys? Give you a perfect example, Grand Canyon. I was going there to hike one time. It was mid or late spring. And you think, oh, that's in the desert. Not really. And it's because it's a mile up. And on the south rim, where all the trails were that I was going to go hike, it was icy and wet. Why? Because the sun's on the south side of the sky. And the snow that had fallen there that winter previous never really melted. It melted, but then it refroze at night. So now all it was an ice lick because it was always in shade. So especially if you're going to drive long distance, if you're going to be in Utah, I would absolutely check the weather. Absolutely. Because you don't want to be up there like, oh, it's going to be a beautiful day. And then all of a sudden it starts raining and it's 40 degrees. And then you die of hypothermia. Always get the maps, have the right type of gear. Yeah, I don't know. Safety, yeah, you got a gun. Oh, let me talk a little bit more about safety and animals. So depending on where you are, there are animals that occasionally will attack or eat humans, and those are bears and mountain lions, wolves as well, and sometimes coyotes. Coyotes will try and take down a human. It's not common, but it will happen. So yes, bring a gun. Depending on where you are, will determine the gun you bring. If you are in Glacier National Park, you got grizzlies. You're not messing around with a 9mm. Bring like a 44, 45 large caliber gun. It's going to be inconvenient. It's going to be a heavy piece of metal, but have it. I also have a chest carry, so it's right there so I can grab it. Where I live in South Dakota, the main thing is mountain lions. That fine 9mm would be okay. They got smaller, like 45s, if you want them. But also, you don't want to be like, if you're pulling a gun because an animal is charging you, you're up shit creek. And so what you want to do is, with bears especially, here where you might want to have a hiking pole, is you have a bell. You can put it on your backpack or whatever. And that way you won't spook a bear. They'll hear you. Play your radio loud if you'd like, just to let them know. Bison, also that's a buffalo. I've spooked one time, and they're big and they'll kill you. They don't want to, but if I had some kind of noise making device, it would have spooked them away. And then it would also kind of spook away mountain lions. If you got a dog, go hiking with the dog. Animals don't like attacking two when there's only one. And then if there are wolves in the area or even coyotes, there you almost want to have a rifle because they'll come in packs, or like have a spare clip. I remember I was hiking in Wyoming one time, and I'm like, oh, there's a coyote up there. I look off to my right, there's a coyote over there. There's a coyote. I'm like, they're surrounding me, and they were still at least 300 yards away. I'm like, huh. And as I move, the circle of coyotes moved, and so I had my AR-15 with me, and I just took that out, and I just fired a couple shots, and they scattered. And so a lot of it isn't like you're going to have to kill them, but you could scare them away. So there's safety with the animals there. So yeah, guns. Also, then finally, when it comes to mountain lions, because those are kind of all over the place. I have a hat, and on the back of my hat, I have stitched big blue eyes, patched eyes. They're about that big. They're big, and they did this in India where Bengal tigers were attacking villagers as they were out in the jungle and all that. And they found if they put like eyes on the back of their head, it made it look like they were looking. And usually mountain lions, big kitties, like to attack from behind because they're cowards. And this, I don't know how many mountain lions I've scared off. I did spook a mountain lion one time. He ran away, thankfully. I didn't have a gun. But that's another thing you can do. They have bear mace. You can have bear mace too. Sure. Just, I hope the wind's not blowing back at you. I hope the wind's the right direction. So there is that, but yeah, you kind of want to avoid them and make noise, especially if you're by yourself. Oh, what else? Research the hell out of your route to get there, and not only the hike that you're going to do, because there's a lot of spurs and other hikes, but put it to memory how you're going to get to the trailhead, because you'll drive out there and you'll lose cell phone reception. And a lot of these trailheads aren't like right off the interstate. Like the one I did over in Zion, you got to drive a good 7 miles on dirt roads into the hinterlands to get there. Also related, research the road conditions to get there, especially in Utah and some of these more remote states. You're going to need a high clearance vehicle to get there. And so, what time is it? Okay, good. I got enough time. So, it's not like you're going to get stranded on the trail. You might get stranded on the road going to the trail. And about the only thing else I can think is, especially if you get up into the mountains, but where there's snow. Obviously, you're going to want to, prepare for winter weather up there. Backpack some winter gear. But usually, when you do a mountain in one day, you start off in the morning, and you go up. You get up there, and then daytime you come, or evening, afternoon you come down. It's happened to me twice now where you're going up the mountain and there's this little creek, very common in spring, and you just, skip over a bunch of rocks and you're in. Then you're coming down later that afternoon and the creek has turned into this rushing river that's 10 times the width. You're like, what the hell just happened? Well, all the snow is melting. And so what you thought was a little creek is now some rapid river that you got to figure another way to get over. And that could pigeonhole, that could trap you there over evening. Oh yeah, always bring some kind of fire kit. Always be able to create some kind of fire. And that's about it. That's what I think I got there now. You said hiking gear and other hacking tips that make the hikes better. I always bring podcasts. Convert them to MP3s so you don't need to download them or listen to them while streaming. Are there any gear differences based on length or difficulty of the hike? Yeah, let's talk about so not necessarily the length, but the trail condition. For example, there's places out here in the Southwest where there's no gravel. You're just hiking on pure rock. And there you just got amazing grip. When you get lava rock, you just got amazing grip. You can just go run right up those things. But if there's some scree, which is large gravel, rocks, not boulders, but they give, you're definitely going to want to have some sturdier hiking boots. Pay attention to your altitude. This varies on each person because everyone's different when it comes to altitude sickness. At about 9,000 feet, well, I can't even say that. I have a buddy who flew to Denver and he didn't hike. He just got sick and started throwing up because he really couldn't handle a mile high. And so if you're going to go up a mountain, but you've lived in Louisiana your entire life, you're going to want to acclimate. You're going to want to, well, maybe I hang out in Denver for a while and I drive up Pikes Peak. See how I do at 10,000 feet. And if you got that pounding headache, you feel like throwing up, yeah, you're not hiking no mountains for a while. So what's great about Utah is you got a lot of canyons. You don't always have to go up the mountains. You got that there. Any downsides to specific gear you use? Yeah, it all weighs something. You go slower. That's the main downside. Finance of gun part. Look for previous videos discuss identifying specific gear. Yeah, the reason you don't see much about gear is because I don't like carrying gear. So I'm out summer in June, northern Utah. Let me take a look at northern Utah. Yeah, I really wish you go to southern Utah, but let's take a look at northern Utah. Because Vernal isn't exactly the far northern part of Utah. It's on the border with Colorado, too. Okay. Yeah, so you're going to stay in that mountain range that just runs along Interstate 50. You go west, it's desert. You're going to stay on that directly north of Salt Lake. What is it? Kings Peak. Tawana, Gilbert, Kings Peak. Yeah, so there's a mountain range to the south, no, to the straight east of Salt Lake. Maybe you want to go hike that. I've never been in that area. I've just driven past it. But that Dinosaur National Monument, that is a hell of a park to check out. And there's a great hike there on the, I think it's like Fish Trail or something like that. Just a beautiful hike. Not that long. And then, yeah, I guess you're near Yellowstone. I guess you could go into Wyoming. All right, that's it. There we go. All right, any super chats? We got a couple here. Hey, Ron Suarez in the house. What's up, Ron? Wyoming Wildman. $5. Be aware that lightning. Oh, yeah, good one, Wyoming Wildman. Be aware that lightning is a significant hazard also during thunderstorms that carried a victim off the Medicine Bow Mountains in 1998. Oh, okay, you're down by Laramie there. Yeah, that's a thing. So if you are going up into the mountains, usually you'll get lightning strikes, even if there's necessarily a storm up there. And that's usually in the afternoon. Mountains in general kick up some kind of weather in the afternoon, always, even the Black Hills, which is a smaller mountain range. And so you really want to, if there's lightning, get the hell off the mountain. And that's way more good one, Wyoming Wildman. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. Utah, I don't know. Maybe it's a little too dry. But if you're in that's why nothing wrong with canyons, man. Hiking around water. You're not up there on top of a barren mountain and all of a sudden thunder is off in the distance. Is that it? That's it. There we go. Questions, answers, asshole consult. Oh, Frank's black and brown bears will leave you alone. Grizzly territory, you need a 44. Yep. Frank's a way more avid hiker than me. He's one of them crazy ultra marathoner types. Yeah, knife, water bottles, running shoes. Yeah, I just don't. I'm a pampered hiker. All right, see you guys later, Toodles.